Hello you all, I am BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Today I'm going to do a video on why do we have the Orisha. Now you guys know I'm doing individual stories on my channel of each Orisha, what they represent, and a small story behind them to make it easier to comprehend, relate, and understand them. But I wanted to stop here in the middle of my series to explain why exactly we have the Orisha. Now before we get into this video, I will suggest to watch my video where I explain how the Orisha started to claim us, because it'll make it easier to understand this video. So first, the crystal of the day is the African zebra jasper, or some of you guys may know it as the zebra jasper. Either way, you can tell by its pattern where it gets its name. This is a grounding crystal. It helps us move from apathy to action, help those of us who love to overthink things to actually live in the moment and to take our time. And health-wise, this helps with bone and teeth. And you can get your African zebra jasper from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. So first, let's start off with the actual word Orisha. Ori, O-R-I, means the physical head of a person. Hence the term why you hear people say, who's your head Orisha? Or so-and-so is my head Orisha. Ori means the physical head of a person. So that's the physical aspect of Ori, but we have an invisible aspect of an Ori as well, which is basically our aura, who we are, our characteristics, our personality, and what makes us a person. So that specific Ori is determined before we are even born. It determines our characteristics, who we will become as a person, and just ourselves. It makes up us. And I like to draw this moment to the movie Soul. You guys know before they came down to earth, they had to find their purpose. They had to be assigned personalities. I like to think of that process as that phase in the movie, like you just have all these little empty spirits and then their assigned personalities, traits, lifestyle, who they will become. That is the spiritual version of an Ori, and the physical version of an Ori is your head. So they go hand in hand when you're communicating, when you're the son or daughter of the Orisha. So the Orisha are a manifestation of Olodumare and are sent here to guide over the creation and specifically humanity in general. Every aspect of this earthly world, every element in nature, no matter how big or small, if it has a use for humans, there is a spirit dwelling in it and guiding it and over it. So for example, the ocean, Yamaya, land, Eshu. So things like that. So every natural force element, even rocks, the certain way wind blows, it has an Orisha guiding over it. So that means there may be some elements of the earth that we may not know. So therefore, there are some Orisha that many people aren't familiar with. For example, you may know Yamaya, but do you know Aganju? You may know Ogun, but do you know Osian? So it's always the main Orisha that you hear mostly about, because they're like the common elements of nature, but there's few little particular and very specific duties of nature that has an Orisha as well. For example, my previous video with the Choisi. A lot of people didn't know who a Choisi was, because when you think of the forest, you think of land, you think of Eshu, you think of Ogun, but you don't think about animals, the hunting, which goes over to a Choisi. So there is plenty of Orisha that we have never heard of. I have never heard of. The most intellectual spiritual person has never heard of. There's 400 plus 1, a 401. And that 1 basically symbolizes an infinite sacred number. So you guys say, oh, do this story, do that story. And sometimes I have a fear like, oh, I'm going to run out of Orisha to talk about. But I'm not, because there's so many. So you guys know the Orisha protect and guide us, but we can also utilize them as well through rituals. You guys know that sometimes you may want something done, so you know there's a specific Orisha that you need to go through, and you can basically, I don't want to use the word control, but utilize their skills to make what you want happen. And you can also implement them in manifestations. For example, if you know there's a goal you want to achieve, but you have a lot of obstacles in your way, which Orisha removes obstacles? Ogun. So you will channel Ogun, get in contact with Ogun, however you may do, whether you go through someone that's initiated, whether you have your own altar, or whether you just do a simple prayer to Ogun yourself. Because remember, we have access to the Orisha. I know sometimes people are like, only initiated people can talk to the Orisha. Like I said before, they guide over humanity, not the initiated humanity. So everyone, of course, there are certain things that initiated people do, and I suggest you make them do it. But just because, like on here, you never hear me talk about certain sacrifices, just because that's not my avenue, I don't do that. I do believe you should leave that for the more skilled people, whether they're initiated or just have years and years of experience. So basically things like that you can utilize the Orisha for your own way that you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable going to someone else to do it, you can do a simple prayer to Ogun because you have access to them as well. So any type of manifestation you have, if you just don't want to journal it, you actually want to do a ritual for it, you want to give an offering, you do that through specific Orisha that fall in that element that you're trying to achieve. Another example, if you want to be a more kind, nurturing mother, or you want to be a mother, so you want to start prepping yourself. Who's the mother? Yamaya. You'll get in contact with her. You'll give an offering to her for guidance, for knowledge, so to be the best mother you can be. If you want to get into your sensuality, your beauty, you will channel Oshun. Get in contact with her. Do an offering for her. Do a prayer for her. So with manifestation, with the Orisha guiding us, we can utilize them as well for what we would like, as long as it's an even exchange. I always say if you use an Orisha for something or you pray to an Orisha, make sure you give an Igbo and an offering and say thank you, just so it's a balanced relationship. There's always has to be a balance. So you can think of the Orisha as our guardians. For example, with myself, the reason why the Orisha interests me so much, because ever since I was little, and I shared this before, I always thought it was an invisible person that were over different things. Like I told you guys before, a weird habit I had in kindergarten, I would push in my chair and say thank you to the chair for allowing me to sit in it. If I had water, if I went to nature, I would be like, can I pick this flower? Thank you. I would thank the trees. I would do stuff like that. Like I will personify different elements of nature. Even if it's a pencil. Oh, this is a good pencil. Thank you for being a good pencil. Like little simple stuff like that. And I feel like that was my natural way of starting to grow interest and being aware that there's different energies in the earth besides the one you may learn about if you are in the church. And it's not evil. It's not demonic as we may have been taught growing up, depending on your religious teachings growing up. But it's just interesting and it makes sense. Like in this world, there's so many things, there's so many elements. Of course, there's spirits in each thing because everything is energy. So it has to be an energy over the energy that gives us the energy. As you guys hear throughout my Orisha story, you may feel like, wow, the Orisha, they made mistakes. They had relationship issues. They had their egos too. They had things that they had to fix. They had lessons they want to learn. And to me, that's even more relatable because sometimes when we think of energy, spirits, you think of perfection. You think of this person is perfect. They make no mistakes. When in actuality, it's more relatable and more comfortable to communicate with them when you realize, wow, I see why I'm the daughter of Shango. I see why I'm the daughter of Yamaya. I went through something like this. And you will always find a story that I tell or a piece in the story like, wow, I went through that too. Or wow, I can relate to that. Hence why there are direct guardians throughout Earth. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I just wanted to do a very quick story on why we have Orisha. This is very quick and simple. There's no one person, there's no one video that can explain all the powers, resources, and just manifestation of the Orisha because they play so many roles, they have so many jobs, and without them, where would we be? So this is just a general synopsis explaining that the Orisha are guardians. There are mothers, our fathers, elements of energy throughout the earth. It all has a spirit dwelling in it that we can utilize throughout our life as well. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. like I always say, as above so below, as within so without, as the universe so the soul. Until next time, you guys, I say baby.